Today, we're diving into one of history's most devastating cultural disasters, the 1258 sack of Baghdad. And this isn't just a story about a battle or a fallen city. No, it's a chilling look at just how fast centuries of human knowledge can be literally wiped off the map.
Just try to picture that for a second. A massive river, the lifeblood of a civilization, turning black. Not with mud, but with the ink from millions of pages of dissolving books. It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but it's a real historical account. So how on earth could something like this happen? What kind of force could possibly unleash that level of destruction? Well, to get the answer, we've got to rewind the clock a little bit.
So back in the early 13th century, a new power explodes out of the steppes of Central Asia, a power the world had never seen before. We're talking about the Mongol Empire, a force that was about to change everything with terrifying speed and incredible brutality.
It all started with one man, Genghis Khan, who united a bunch of scattered tribes into the most disciplined and effective military machine on the planet. They just swept across Asia like a force of nature. And by the 1250s, his descendants, specifically his grandson Hulagu Khan, had their eyes set on the great, wealthy cities of the Middle East.
And the ultimate prize, the crown jewel of their campaign, was Baghdad. At this point in history, Baghdad wasn't just another city. It was the heart of the Islamic Golden Age. I mean, this place was the center of the world. For hundreds of years, Baghdad was the global hub for science, for culture, for new ideas. It was a crossroads where scholars, merchants, and artists from all over the known world came together. For all intents and purposes, this was civilization.
And the engine room for all this brainpower was the legendary House of Wisdom. Now, don't let the name fool you. This was so much more than a library. It was a massive university, a translation center, an observatory. It was the absolute peak of scholarship on Earth.
And think about what was inside. We're talking about everything. Scholars there were translating ancient Greek and Persian texts, preserving knowledge that had been lost to Europe. But they weren't just copying it. They were building on it. They practically invented algebra. They were making huge leaps in medicine, in astronomy, and philosophy. The libraries of Baghdad held the collected wisdom of humanity.
So, you can see what's happening here. You've got the most powerful army on the planet, on a collision course with the most advanced intellectual center on the planet. And what happened next? Well, it was as tragic as it was predictable.
The year is 1258. Hulagu Khan and his enormous Mongol army show up at the gates of Baghdad. He demands that the city surrender. But the caliph, the ruler of the city, refuses. He's way too confident, thinking the city's famous walls and God will protect him.
Big mistake. The fight was brutal, but it was over shockingly fast. See, the Mongols were masters of siege warfare. And even though the people of Baghdad fought back fiercely, it wasn't enough. The city that had been the center of culture for 500 years fell in less than 2 weeks.
But the city's fall was really just the beginning of the nightmare. Because what the Mongols did next wasn't a conquest. It was a systematic effort to completely erase a culture.
You see, for the Mongols, just winning wasn't the point. The goal here was to make a terrifying example out of Baghdad, to completely and utterly shatter its influence, its legacy, its very spirit, forever.
And that word, annihilated, is the perfect one to use. They didn't just want to win a battle, they wanted to destroy the idea of Baghdad.
The scale of what they did is almost impossible to imagine. Historians say hundreds of thousands of people were slaughtered. The grand palaces, the mosques, the hospitals, all of it, just torn down. This was also the final nail in the coffin for the Abbasid Caliphate, which had been around for 500 years. But the loss that can never be recovered was the knowledge.
Which brings us back to that horrible, haunting image. The accounts from the time describe two colors in the rivers. One river dyed red with the blood of the city's people, and the other, the great Tigris River, flowing black as the Mongols threw the entire contents of the House of Wisdom and every other library straight into the water. It was the ultimate act of destruction, killing both the people and their ideas. So, after an event that catastrophic, what happens? How does a civilization even begin to recover when its heart has been ripped out? Well, the answer is a story of shock, but also, amazingly, of resilience.
The Islamic world was in shock. Baghdad's role as the one single center of learning was gone, and it would never really get it back. But the story doesn't completely end there. Knowledge is a funny thing. Surviving scholars and a few salvaged books made their way to other cities like Cairo and Damascus.
These places became new centers for learning. The flame of that civilization was scattered and badly wounded, but it wasn't put out. It survived.
When you look back, the fall of Baghdad is one of history's clearest and most painful lessons. It shows us, in no uncertain terms, that even the greatest heights of human achievement are incredibly fragile. It proves that centuries of progress can be wiped out in a few short weeks.
And that makes you think, doesn't it? We live in an age where all our information seems permanent. It's on the internet, it's in the cloud, it feels indestructible. But is it really? If our own civilization faced a total collapse, what would we lose? What's our digital house of wisdom? And what happens if it gets thrown in the river?